What's going on, guys? Raymond Teacher in the house, and I'm here with the ADL Finals. Team Builder and Battles, as always, of course. We are the Royal Bomber for Bombies, and we are taking on the Stockholm Staraptors and Coach Arvid. He has a very scary team. Pretty hard to play against, honestly. He's got a lot of things that can be really threatening. Obviously, his team is Mono Ice. We are Mono Fairy. So, there are some conflicting matchups here, but it's mostly secondary typings that cause an issue. But, yeah, let's look at his team. So, it's Mega Glalie, super hard-hitting wall breaker, decently high attack stat, okay speed tier at base 100, does of course have that refrigerate ability, which means things like double edge, explosion, normal type moves become ice type, does a lot of damage, it's really hard, does also get spikes if he wants to run a more utility style set, but it's an incredibly powerful mod nonetheless, can be really threatening, does of course get things like Earthquake for Tapu Koko, does get Ice Shard priority, things like that. Really annoying. Next up, he's got Kieran Black, massive wall breaker, hits like a truck, can be Z-move, can be Life Orb, can be Scarf, can be Specs, I've seen a few times. If my guess, of course, before the match, we've just played the final actually, so I know what he brought. He actually brought Z Free Shock, nothing really switches into that, it's the 300 base power Ice type Z-move. Nothing switches in on it, it's just insane how much power that thing has. Does get things like Fusion Bolt, does get Earth Power. Does also do things like Sub and Roost, could potentially Iron Head as well. Does get quite a lot of things, does hit really hard, so I have to play around it really carefully. Next up, Mammoth One, of course, also a Premier Wall Breaker. Things like Life Orb sets are standard, Ice Shard knockoff, Earthquake, Icicle Crash. Does also get Rocks if you want to run that. But yeah, pretty easy to figure out, pretty standard set, honestly. There's nothing too complicated about Mammoth Swine. I don't envisage him running anything particularly complicated. Cloister is one that could come, but may not because of Tapu Koko and Whimsicott. Typically, he can be a Focus Sash lead for Hazard Stack. You can also be a Shell Smash set, of course. Hits pretty hard, does have Skill Link, of course, so Icicle Spear and Rock Blast hits pretty hard, but neither one of them hit my team that well. So I'm not sure Cloister really can afford to come anyway, but if it does come, I imagine it to be a Hazard Stack set. Then on to his two Hell setters, of course. Vanillux hits incredibly hard on the special side, 100% accurate Blizzards off of Vanilux's decent special attack stat. Pretty scary stuff, does get Ice Shard as well for priority. Does also get Screens, which is kind of cool. I believe it also might get Rocks. I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, it does get some rather weird stuff. Could even be like an Autotomized Sweeper set. I've seen that run before. I don't know what he would be though. My guess is he's something like Life Orb. Or maybe... yeah, probably Life Orb, most likely, I'd say. His other Hell setter is Aurorus. Aurorus is kind of cool. Gets quite a cool couple of good abilities. Obviously, it can get Snow Warning on its own. Does also get Refrigerate, of course. Gets Rocks. Hits pretty hard. Can be Scarf. Can be Specs. Can be Entry Hazard Lead. It can be a lot of things, but generally it's fairly easy to wear down. So, Aurorus, as good as it is and as cool a Pokemon as it is, it's not super great against my team. I have a Primarina, I have a Whimsicott. I have things that hit it super effectively pretty hard. So, yeah. Sneasel's next. I don't imagine Sneasel would ever come to this match because of Tapu Koko, and Primarina for that matter. Sneasel being a Dark type is really bad against my team, so especially against my wall breakers. Sneasel really doesn't do very much even with a Violet, so Sneasel never really comes, but does get priority, does get Ice Shard, does get Stab knockoff. Can also run things like Punishment if he thinks I'm going to be a setup set, things like that. But yeah. Next up is Frostlass. Frostlass is cool. It's a fast Pokemon, decent speed tier. It gets spikes. Does also get Destiny Bond, but it's really frail. Really easy to take down. So I don't see it coming. Never would have seen it coming. Last but by no means least is Regice. Regice is kind of a weird Pokemon. It's often considered the worst Reggie. But like a lot of the Reggies, it gets things like T-Wave, gets Explosion. Does get weird coverage moves like Thunderbolt. Does also get weird stuff like Zap Cannon, which could be kind of funny, but I don't imagine him running it. But it doesn't generally hit very hard. But it's just like super bulky. Obviously, having clear body as well, I can't reduce any stats, so that's something else to bear in mind. But yeah, it doesn't hit hard, it's just there to sponge hits, but it gets worn down by Toxic and Stealth Rock, so not always the best matchup. Stealth Rock is actually really strong against his team, because every ice type takes 25% except Mamoswine, so that's something to bear in mind. So, let's look at the team I brought, shall we? So, first up is going to be Tapu Koko, of course, running a Choice Scarf. This is basically to cover any potential Scarf set he might bring, like Scarf Gear and Black, anything like that. Scarf Koko guaranteed outspeeds everything. No real worries there. Volt Switch just to pivot out in the electric terrain actually does quite a fair bit of damage. Dazzling Gleam hits the Gear and Black pretty hard, it guaranteed 2-shots it. Grass Knot hits quite a lot of his team. It can one-shot Mamoswine. It's a roll, but it can one-shot him. It one-shots Cloyster 100% of the time. It one-shots Aurorus. Pretty strong. Hidden Power Fire just for neutral damage on anything, really. Most of the time, I'll more likely be clicking Volt Switch or Dazzling Gleam. So, yeah. Pretty strong. Just have to be careful about Mamoswine. But, yeah. Koko is just super powerful in this matchup. Anyhow. Next up is going to be Primarina making a return. Running Scarf on this as well. I ran Scarf against EXO and it worked really well, so I figured I'd run it again. It's kind of a wonky set. It can still be outsped by quite a few things, but Scald hits quite a lot of the team, particularly Mamoswine especially hard. Energy Ball hits pretty much everything, honestly. Moonblast is decent stab against anything, and Hidden Power Fire is kind of neutral damage against quite a lot of things. Does hit for a decent amount of chip if I do need to run it. I considered Specs, but if he ran like Scarf Aurorus, for example, I needed to be able to outspeed it, and I couldn't outspeed it without being Scarf myself, so I had to run Scarf for this one. Making its debut in the final is going to be Carbink. Carbink's actually kind of got an important job this match. With it being sturdy, I can't be one-shot by anything. So Stealth Rock is almost a guaranteed setup, and then Toxic Protect just to try and stall things down. I do have that leftovers, of course, to recover up, but it's a high chance that I won't be able to recover up too much. But if I can pick up some Toxics on things like the Regice, for example, things like the Glalie or the Aurorus, then we're kind of in business here. Stone Edge is kind of like a little chip move, but I'm not expecting it to do much. But this thing's job is just to set rocks and to try and keep rocks on the field as best as possible. Toxic Protect just catches anything that wants to wall break. If I can catch the Z move with a Protect as well from Kyurem, it will not kill me under any circumstances, so that's something to bear in mind. But yeah, it's a pretty good set. Running fully specially bulky, this is mostly there for Vanillux. Vanillux actually hits me quite hard, so does Aurorus. It also means that I can live a Shell Smash boosted Hydro from the Cloyster. So yeah, pretty solid mon in general. Yeah, it does a pretty decent job on the team. It's kind of like the glue that holds my team together in a way. Next up is gonna be Granville. Granville is actually very nice here. If I can get an Intimidate off on things like the Mamo or the Glalie, I can pretty much put in a lot of work here. Bulk Up, Fire Punch, Low Kick, Stone Edge, pretty much everything here hits pretty hard. Low Kick is going to be the main one here. Low Kick can actually potentially one-shot the Mamoswine. It can also do a huge amount to Kyurem Black. It one-shots Aurorus, it one-shots Glalie. So, it's very powerful, hard-hitting. Fire Punch, of course, is there just to see if I can spread some burns on anything I can't kill, and Stone Edge hits the Kyurem Black. So, it's a pretty solid mon in general, but its main job is just to intimidate and try and weaken some of the physically offensive mons, particularly Mamo and Glalie. Next up is a bit of a risk this week, is Whimsicott. I almost brought Wigglytuff, but I felt like Whimsicott was much more necessary. Whimsicott with Specs is actually insanely powerful. It hits incredibly hard, even from neutral damage. I have the Infiltrator, of course, in case he's a sub-Kyurem set, which he could well be. Some Kyurems in mono do actually run subs, so Moonblast just one-shots it through the substitute. Giga Drain is mostly there just for Cloyster and Mamoswine. Hidden Power Fire is there for pretty much everything else. Defog, of course, if he tries to set up rocks on me. My team doesn't really care that much about rocks, so it's not the biggest deal in the world for me, but just having Defog there helps me out a little bit. So, especially if I'm getting worn down. But yeah, largely, this thing is going to be in against Kyurem Black. I do outspeed Kyurem Black. So Moonblast is basically going to rip it apart. Moonblast will chip everything down except a fully specially defensive Regice, which Moonblast doesn't do that much to. But it can do enough with a bit of chip damage plus rocks, so we'll see. And last but by no means least, I couldn't not bring it, is Mega Altaria. Doesn't really have that much use this week, honestly, but Earthquake Flamethrower actually hits pretty hard against almost all of his team. I did originally have Body Slam on it for the Pixelate buff. This was mostly there for speed control, but honestly, Earthquake is a little bit more viable, particularly against KB. Also against the Auroras, if it's not Scarf. Things like that. Flamethrower, of course, hits incredibly hard, and Roost and Cotton Guard. If I need to bulk up against the physical mons, Cotton Guard is there to help me out. But yeah, Altaria is mostly just going to be a sack at this point. I could have brought Wigglytuff, I thought about bringing it, but it really doesn't do that much against this team. And to be honest, the other Pokemon just never really had much of a looking in this match. Florges was originally on the team, but Special Walls don't really do much against physical attackers, and I'm not really seeing what Florges beats all that well, except Kia and Black potentially. And Slurpuff would have been cool. The Belly Drum Citrus Berry set with Drain Punch could have been interesting. It's something I very nearly brought. I'm not sure why I cut it. Maybe I should have brought it. Looking at it again, I probably should have brought it. But yeah, it was kind of not really in my considerations. I think I felt like with the priority that a lot of his team gets, you know, things like Ice Shard on the Glalie, the Mamo, the Cloyster, the Vanillux, the Sneasel, all get Ice Shard. So it's like, I'm not going to be able to reliably set up here. So I think that was the reason I ended up not going for it. But yeah, that's my team for the finals. Look forward to the matches, and I will see you in a bit. Alright then guys, we are back here with the matches versus Arvid. This of course is game 1. So, if you watch the team order, you realise that there's no Cloyster here, which actually means that there is no Rapid Spin, as far as I'm aware. I don't believe Regice gets it. But it looks like there's no spin on this team, which is actually really important here. So we're actually going to go click play here. We're actually going to see what actually happens here. As he does lead Vanillux, get the immediate hail up, makes a lot of sense. I actually go straight for Carbink. Carbink here, of course, being my dedicated rock setter, means that I can set up rocks for free. Now, as he actually goes for screens, which is kind of a cool little tech, given how impactful that Coco, Primarina, and Whimsicott all are. We do see Hidden Power. This is Hidden Power Poison, because had he been Hidden Power Steel, he would have had a chance to put me down to my Sash, or my Sturdy rather. But yeah, and you can see at this point, Toxic in the Hell Setter is actually really good because it limits the amount of times it can switch in alongside the rocks. So I actually just go for Stone Edge here. I almost double Toxic because I predicted the switch, but Stone Edge for free damage is never a bad thing. I go for Protect here just to scout for Earthquake. Mammothswine obviously typically has it, but there's no reason for me not to look for it. But yeah, at this point, my Carbink's actually done its job, so I can just let it go down. Its primary job was just to get rocks up, and it has already done that. So I let it go down here, and now the Hail is gone. So we successfully stole out the Hail turns. Now I can just go Primarina here and freely click a Scald. Nothing really wants to take a Scald, to be honest. So there's no reason for me not to go. So you can see how much damage that did. Unfortunately, the Toxic's not quite enough to kill, but nonetheless, I can click Scald again here because I am, of course, Scarf, and this thing just goes down. No problem. So we're in a good position here. Hail is up, which does suck, but yeah. Here comes the Glalie. Glalie does typically get Freeze Dry, so I opted to switch out here, just go straight into Gramble. Gramble with the Intimidate means that this Refrigerate boosted Double Edge that comes out is actually -1, so it does less than half. And you can see how much that does with the Recall and the Rocky Helmet. Chips down Glalie pretty hard at this point. So Glalie comes back out, but unfortunately for him, I have Low Kick on my Gramble. This is actually super cool little tech. It also hits the Regice and the Auroras really hard. So Low Kick actually does a lot here. We do actually see the Auroras come out, which is good to know. We do see the Hidden Power. Again, I believe this is Poison, but it doesn't matter, it doesn't kill. So I get another kill with Gramble with the Low Kick. Now, unfortunately here, for him, the Hail stops, so he's unable to actually do much here. But again, I felt like Gramble had kind of done a good job at this point, so I let it go down. This was actually a mistake by me. I should have kept Gramble around for Glalie, but ultimately it didn't matter. So I go to Primarina here thinking that I can click Moonblast for free. Unfortunately, as you can see from that damage, this is a fully specially defensive Regice that has leftovers, which means my Primarina is not doing very much. So I make a bit of a good read here, predicting the Thunder Wave, so I go straight into Tapu Koko. Kind of a little clever play. I've seen T-Wave on a lot of Regices before. I go for Volt Switch, just confirm my suspicion that it was fully specially defensive. And at this point I sack Altaria, because Altaria doesn't really do anything against these ones, so I was quite happy to let it go. So at this point I go into Primarina, which was kind of unfortunate. I go for Moonblast this time around just to try see if I can get a special attack drop, but unfortunately I don't. We do see the Thunder Wave come off. Bit of a problem, but at the end of the day I can still win this game with Tapu Koko. So while this Primarina is getting heavily chunked out, I believe I actually get paralyzed here. Oh no, I actually get the Moonblast off, I think. Yeah, and I think he kills me with Thunderbolt. Yeah, so Primarina goes down. A little bit unfortunate, but the electric terrain is actually now gone, which isn't a bad thing. But this is actually a chance for Whimsicott to pick up a kill. This is a roll, but I unfortunately don't get it. Unfortunately, my roll was kind of a little weak, but he's still low. At 10%, he guaranteed dies to another Moonblast. So we get it off and we pick up the Regice, which is nice. This was actually what allows me to win this game, particularly. Kyurem does come in, does outspeed me because I'm paralyzed, which is a little bit unfortunate, but does also reveal the Icium Z. Now, I don't think this was necessary, because a regular Ice Beam would have killed Whimsicott, but he showed me it anyway, which was good information for me to have going into Game 2. He actually switched out here, which didn't matter because Dazzling Gleam actually killed both of these mons. So, the Glalie goes down, and then the Kyurem comes back in, takes a chunk from rocks, and then just gets blown back by Dazzling Gleam because I'm, of course, faster. So, Game 1, of course, goes to me. So, let's move on to game number 2. As always, same teams. So, let's just pick up the game for where we left off. So, I lead Carbrink again because it's pretty much a free lead here, as he actually leads Mamoswine this time, which was a good change for him. As you can see, he does go for Earthquake, take me down to 1 HP, but my job for Carbrink is to get rocks up, so once again, Carbrink's already done his job, so I don't necessarily need Carbrink anymore. I go for Protect just to be a little bit cheeky, as he does actually show the Ice Shard, which is good knowledge for me. I'm not sure why he Ice Sharded here, he could have just clicked Earthquake again. But now I can just go Gramble, because the Intimidate hurts him. The Earthquake does less than half, as you can see, and he's got Life Orb recoil from that. So at this point he does go for Rocks, which was a nice adaptation. The Low Kick doesn't actually kill here, which was kind of surprising to me. I actually miscalced my set. But at this point, sacking off Carbrink is perfectly okay. Keep the Intimidate up, of course, for later. I go into Altaria here. Altaria, again, doesn't really do anything this match. But, nonetheless, he goes for Ice Shard and actually doesn't kill me, so dies to Life Orb. Which is good for me, because I actually roost up here and get my health back. So we're not quite at full health, which is a little bit unlucky, but we're still in an okay position. Now here, we see the Hyper Voice Refrigerate come out, so this confirmed to me that this Aurorus was Choice Scarf, which is still outsped by Primarina. So that's something to bear in mind. He actually switches out into Regice, which is pretty much a free switch to Primarina all the time. We go for Scald here. We unfortunately don't get the burn. A little bit unlucky. But, just like last time, I can freely switch into Koko on the Thunder Wave play. Thunder Wave is pretty much always the play when Primarina's out, because he wants my Primarina to not be speedy due to Scarf. At this point I go for Dazzling Gleam. It really does absolutely nothing. As we do see the Hidden Power Poison come out again. Interestingly, he ran so many Hidden Power Poisons and not really any steals. I'm going to Gramble here just to see if I can get a low kick off. Low kick obviously hits just about everything on his team incredibly hard. But at this point he goes into Vanillux, gets the hail up, which is kind of annoying. Does chip me down, but the low kick almost kills this Vanillux. It actually would have killed if I had more attack investment. Obviously, unfortunately, I didn't. As he shows Ice Shard on Vanillux, which is fine. I'm happy with this. So at this point, I'm free to go into whatever I want. I choose Koko here because even after Rocks, I should live the Ice Shard. But the crit obviously puts me a long way down, which means unfortunately my Coco actually dies on re-entry, because I actually went for Volt Switch here. This was unfortunate for me, because now my Coco can't switch back in unless I get a defog off. And I also need Hail to be gone, so that's something else to bear in mind. Seeing the 2 turns of Hail left is kind of okay for me. At this point I go for Moonblast to try and chip out the Regice, but unfortunately I don't get a good roll, and the Hidden Power Poison comes out and one-shots me. So this was my big misplay that cost me the game because I did not defog. I should have defogged that turn, but I chose not to. But the Moonblast, again, low rolls just ruined me this game so many times. Getting the paralysis off, which just cost me so badly here. We do kill the Regice, but unfortunately that's not going to be enough for me to win this game. I did even say in the chat that these rolls were ridiculous, and Skinny Biscuit agreed. There was a lot of real bad rolls in this match for me. So Primarina sadly goes down, which leaves Coco to die on re-entry, of course, and that is 1-1. So in the finals, somewhat fittingly, we go to a decider, and here we are. So let's see what happens here. So at this point I change things up. I lead Coco just to change things up from Carbine, because he actually leads Mamoswine again. Now this Grass Knot was incredibly unlucky, but that was followed by an immediate misplay. Let me pause this. I'm actually going to go back a turn. I want to show you guys this more carefully, because this is the kind of misplay that happens quite a lot from lesser experienced players. And this Grass Knot, by the way, was actually a roll to kill. But after this, going for rocks when Earthquake guaranteed kills Coco is a misplay. Now, I don't know if he just expected to die, so he clicked rocks on the off chance. He should have died. I think this was like a 70% chance to kill from Grass Knot. But yeah, I think the other thing that was also scared about is life or damage would have killed him. So he was in a kind of difficult position here. But again, Mamoswine is now basically dead on re-entry if I can get rocks up. I go for another Grass Knot here, which does absolutely nothing to this Regice. It's incredibly bulky. It's super hard for me to deal with. I actually go for it again here, just to see if he tries to predict me, going for the switch it out and go for Thunder Wave. He actually goes for Hidden Power Poison again, which is not bad for him. But at this point, I can switch out into Carbine. Carbine doesn't really care about getting paralyzed or anything, and takes nothing from this Hidden Power Poison, as you can see. So yeah, at this point I get my rocks up on just about anything, as we do actually see the Mamoswine come in, but I actually baited him hard here. I actually went for Toxic, which is kind of funny because little Carbrank actually picks up a kill with Toxic, which is hilarious to me. At this point Kieran Black comes out, which is a bit of a problem. I go for Protect here, trying to see if he goes for the Z move, but he catches me a little off guard here and actually goes for Sub. Good play on his part here. At this point I go for the double just to see what happens, and I'm basically guaranteed to get back at full health here, which was a misplay on his part. He probably should have Z-moved there. The free shot comes out but doesn't kill me, but does paralyze me, which is a little unfortunate, but I get my rocks up, which was the key for me to win this game. So Carbink, once again, had done his job. Go for Protect again just to see what he does, as he actually opted for Fusion Bolt this time. Give me a little bit of health back. This was mostly just an idea just to see if I can get rid of a Z move. Switching to Coco here, which was a bit of an aggressive play. I didn't have to do this, but we do see the free shot come out again. At this point, Coco is kind of not that good to me, so I just doesn't even break the sub. And the free shot, of course, picks up the kill. Kind of annoying, but at this point, I'm okay with this. Whimsicott comes out. I am faster because I'm not paralyzed as of yet. So I can freely click Moonblast here, do a bit of damage. Again, no special attack drop. I don't think Clear Body affects that. I'm not 100% sure on this. But at this point, I can go Carbink again because I'm already paralyzed. So if he does go for T-Wave, which he does, I basically get a free turn here. And at this point, I pretty much click whatever I want here. So at this point, I was unlucky because the Power Hacks got me. I did actually click Toxic that turn, which would have been good against the Auroras, but I get Power Hacked again, and the Light Screen comes out. Light Screen's very interesting, very cool little tech, of course, prepping for Whimsicott, which allows this Kyurem to come back in, which is kind of annoying for me as I don't have a Fairy Tip move. We finally get a Toxic off. Unfortunately, it's the Kyurem, which probably didn't really care about getting Toxic, but it got Toxic anyway. And we do finally see the Z move come out, which I'm happy to see it was used on Carbink, because if it was used on anything else, it probably would have died. So I'm okay with this position. I go back into Whimsicott here. I am Prankster on this set, if I remember correctly, but I just go for Moonblast because Kyurem's a free kill. I am faster, so that's fine. Regice comes back out. At this point, I Moonblast again. I don't need to defog. Rocks doesn't really hurt my team, as he does T-Wave me, but Whimsicott's pretty fast. I actually still outspeed anyway, and the Moonblast has a chance to kill. So he switches out Vanillux, gets the hail back up. Makes sense, chipping me down as best as possible, but unfortunately, I get power hexed, which is incredibly unlucky. But at this point, the Blizzard's gonna kill me. Nothing really I can do about it. Whimsicott doesn't have the best use in this match now anyway, so it's okay for this. I go back into Primarina here. I haven't seen Freeze Dry at all yet, so I wasn't that scared of it. So I go for Moonblast, which was a roll, and once again, I don't get it. But we do see Light Screen come out once again. Not too surprising to see it, as we do see the Ice Shard, which was a bit of a weird play on his part. I'm aware of the hidden power, so I wasn't surprised to not see it. But yeah, nonetheless, Vanillux goes down. At this point, Regice dies on entry. This was another mistake on my opponent's part here. I don't think he realised that. But yeah, at this point, the Glalie comes back out, which is fine. I go into Gramble here, of course, like last time, get the Intimidate off. So this Double Edge doesn't really do that much to me. As you can see, 39%. It actually does more to himself with the Rocky Helmet plus recoil from the move. And at this point, I can do whatever. He actually Explosion crits me, which is pretty interesting. Didn't matter in the long run, actually, because the Explosion would have killed me regardless. Now, I go into Primarina here, because Primarina should have been faster, but unfortunately, an adaptation meant that the Aurorus was now faster. But nonetheless, it doesn't live a Scold even through Light Screen, and that means we pick up a 2-1 victory, and we are the ADL Monotype champions. So in 3 tournaments we've played, we are 2 wins and 1 semi-final. Not a bad showing. Definitely would have liked to have played better in the one I lost in the semi-final, but yeah, we're all good. We win the league again, of course. Good games to Arvid, of course. Good games at all. Really good, well played. I've never played him before, so it was nice to get to see him play. We did actually have a chance to have a chat after the game, and he was like, yeah, I should have brought Cloyster. Cloyster would have been okay in the match. Would have struggled a little bit against Coco and Whimsicott, but it would have at least been an opportunity to get rid of those rocks, which were a pain. But yeah, either way, I'm going to get on out of here. My name is Rabombi Teacher. I'm your coach of the Royal Bomber for Bombis. Stay safe. Stay awesome, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.